this video, we're going to talk a little bit about regulations, and one that's come up time and time again, because everyone waits at the last minute, right? Whenever I'm told to do something by my wife or my kids, it's always the last minute. But in this case, everyone waited till May, or at least the end of April, to figure out how to get GDPR compliant. GDPR, European regulations, coming down pretty hard on a lot of European organizations, or if you're doing business that has European citizens and it has personal data. And GDPR encompasses that. If any of you were watching the hearings in the Senate with Zuckerberg and Facebook, he actually mentioned GDPR is some kind of approach that he's going to take for all data across Facebook globally, because it's a pretty tight regulation. In fact, it's probably tighter than PCI, HIPAA, GLBA, any of the prior regulations that came down within the US and some of the other privacy laws, because it has a lot of ramifications if you don't comply. So let's talk a little bit about what it is and why it's there, and then threats, and all kind of mixed together. So GDPR really dictates that personal data, which is identifiable of some person within Europe, is kind of where it started. So that could be zip codes, it could be email addresses, it's obviously phone numbers, it's home addresses, it's all of the above that identifies a person. And that data is not supposed to leave the borders of Europe, or it's not supposed to be shared outside. And you can't really use it to leverage it for things like marketing campaigns or other reasons, and really it's there to protect the citizens. So when you think about GDPR, one of the big problems that comes up is cloud. Why? Where is the data when you're storing it in the cloud? If you're a European citizen and you sign up for, let's say, Dropbox or Box, or you pick the cloud, of course the data is going to go to a data center somewhere. Theoretically, you can make it stay within Europe, but there are instances where it may fail over somewhere else, or it might be some backup going outside of Europe. And if you're storing personal data, then technically you could be in breach of GDPR, especially if you're an organization and you might have signed up in North America for a cloud service and you have European data, then how do you govern that? So GDPR is there to kind of figure out how to protect the data. Clouds are kind of contrary to that, because data can cross borders when you sign up for a cloud. You don't know where it is. So come in CASB, of course, right? I wouldn't be here if I wasn't talking about CASB, or at least cloud security. So the idea is CASBs, at least some of them, very few of them, have this really cool ability that you can define policies that dictate things like, if there's an entity within this part of the world, let's say it's Europe, and there's personally identifiable data, keep it in that part of the world, or if it's going into a cloud, pseudonymize it. Yes, I had to practice that word like 1,000 times. I had to look it up on the internet and hear someone else say it in a different accent, but I figured it out. So pseudonymizing the data means that you transform it in a way that it cannot be re-identifiable to the original private data. That's it. That's pseudonymized private data. So if you're an organization that embraces cloud, and it could be in a North America cloud, if you're in Europe, you still can embrace that cloud, as long as before it leaves that part of the world, your entity, it's pseudonymized. I'm not going to write pseudonymization on the board, just so you know. Not going to happen. I'll probably spell it wrong, but I can say it, so there you go. So that's one aspect of CASB. Some CASBs, very few, can effectively pseudonymize the data that's PII or private data before it leaves to go into some cloud that could be foreign hosted. Perfect, right? What else is GDPR there for? Well, it's to protect against these potential breaches. And why is that important? And why is all of this kind of convoluted coming together? So the way I look at it is this. You got private data. You want to be protected by GDPR so you don't have to pay their exorbitant fines. And you're worried about cloud data being potentially breached. And there's so many ways that data can be breached. We've seen recently, at least here in North America, a lot of big brand names, Best Buy and FedEx, and you name the brand, that had cloud breaches, not because there was a sophisticated attacker that got in, it's because someone misconfigured something, data was exposed, it's sitting outside there in the open, and all of a sudden people can get access to it. So as all this starts to play together, you have to think about what clouds are you embracing, how to protect it, can you pseudonymize the data if you're dealing with Europe or European citizen data. And enter CASB again. So again, there's few and far between CASBs, but what they can do is a lot of flexibility in building a protection profile, which could be A, let's pseudonymize the data before it leaves that region. B, let's provide protection about who can access that cloud data. And C, if we do pseudonymize the data and it's in a cloud and it's overseas and it gets exposed somehow, because it's pseudonymized, everyone's protected. And in that case, if it is completely pseudonymized in a way that can be not re-identifiable, breach notification is not necessary. Bam! Gotta love that. So anyway, that's a little bit about CASB, pseudonymized, GDPR, threats. Hope that helps. Thanks for watching. Hope you got some insight into a little bit about cloud security. We'll be doing more videos and we'll start to bring in some action. Not that kind of action. It's going to be, as I said, motorized vehicle action, airplanes, motorcycles, whatever. And please follow me on Twitter and click the link below. Thanks.